Hey everyone, hope you all had a fantastic start to your week. I definitely did. Today I want to do some world building, so here we are. Alright, bring up my window. So this has been something that's been on the back burner of my it's been on the back burner of my mind for weeks now, my hyperfixation. And I think it's ready to take off the back burner and do some cooking with it. It started because I've been wanting to think of a new OC to start using as a character or something like that. Just something to start playing with instead of same old avatars I've had. And I hit upon the inspiration of a fighter pilot aesthetic mixed with a medieval knight aesthetic, or Renaissance knight. And then I talked to some art friends that I've gotten commissions from in the past, and they confirmed that they could, in their mind's eye, see how that could work out. So, once I knew that the concept itself wasn't all bad, I started thinking more seriously about what would facilitate that kind of combination. And the obvious combination for a fighter pilot and a knight is Magitech to me. You could also go real world with like Ace Combat Zero, where you had the Belkin Knights and stuff like that, but I didn't want to go for that angle of it. I wanted to go more science fantasy with this. Because I don't have a specific image of it in my mind yet, but I like the conceptual idea of like plate armor knight mixed with a fighter pilot, something like that. So this is a oddly specific way to justify that. So, to get into the world building, I want to start with some established truths or assumptions of the world. So, I don't want that. Actually, don't want numbers. So the first one I want to tackle. Actually, before we do truce, I want to establish some options here. Oh, foundation choices, if I can call them. So the first one will be if it's an alternate Earth, or if it's going to be Stars War. We're going to do a galaxy far, far away. A long time ago. Boing. Far away. These I do want a number. Second choice. There's definitely going to be magic in there somewhere. So I need some limitations on that. Can magic revive? Can it undo death? So, permadeath, yes, no. How to phrase that. Permadeath. Third choice. Tech level. Because there's some ways to go about this, because it's not going to be an exact one-to-one in terms of technology we know, with what I'm thinking. The first option would be, we'll call it around equivalent to now or Y2 or the year 2000-ish. I think Y2K will limit how many people get that reference. The other one will be near future. Other one will be spacefaring. Fourth question. Actually, I want to back up and add one between 2 and 3. So clarify that with magic can for easier reference. And then healing magic. Magic can heal. Healing with consequences of some way or shape, or no healing. I think that's a good spread there. Next, technology. How much technology is there with the magic? So, first will be full sci-fi combined with magic. I call it high sci-fi. High technology. Then we'll have realistic, which would be like modern day that we have. Then medieval tech. And there'll be shades of gray in between these. These are more of a spectrum with points denoting where to focus. 6. I think those are the big questions. I'll leave 6 there in case I want to add to it later. And I'll come back and select these once I've established some truth to help define the world. So, the first truth, and this is what my hyperfixation has been focused on, is how there will be magic. And I've decided to go upon inspired by the 40k route, where there's a subdimension connected to ours where the magical energies are pulled from in some way or shape or form. So 1, margarine immaterium. I don't want demons and the like 40k does with the warp, because I don't want the warp. It's just the immaterium, which the warp is a part of. How to further define that? So, I'll do sub ones on that. It's timeless. Timeless implies that free will is an illusion with predestined fates. So, but I don't like that. I want there to be a way to defy fate. I think I have it. So first, with it being timeless, it will be predestined fate. But with human souls will interact with a subdimension, and through that interaction, they will be able to resist and change fate. That will be a maybe not a unique mechanic to humanity, but it will be a major defining trait of humanity in this setting. Human souls can resist change. So why does it being timeless imply that there is no free will? Illusory free will. And hit my cues right. So why does it being timeless imply that free will is an illusion? That is because if you abstract it down into world lines, then I need to get a visual aid going on this. 1 second. I'll add I want an app source, not an image source. Plus window capture, drawing aid. I want paint. The title must match. Capture cursor. Let's see if this works. Not. What about good old regular paint? What up, Windows? Let's see. Instead of Paint Studio, just regular paint. There we go. Maybe. Let's not. I'll have to fuss with that for next time. So, actually. Hey, there we go. So why is... I already said that too many times. So the reason why is because if you abstract it down into a world line graph. So this will be, if I remember right, time. And this is space. And the light is... Can I change colors? I can. Light can only go at 45 degrees. Or whatever. And anything above 45 degrees is faster than light. So everything in the material universe is below 45 degrees. So this is already going wildly off the rails, but here we are. And copy this, because this will be our other area. Okay. So here we are below the 45-degree line, slower than light. When you abstract what we can intellectualize as the world down, and this is, I forget if it's quantum physics or what, it's shit I learned on PBS Space Time, that YouTube channel over the years. Not something I'm professionally educated in, just random shit I've learned over the years, and I'm misrepresenting wildly here. But when you abstract what we know about the universe down, what we can mathematically prove, you end up with a timeless universe where observers, which is not a you and me observer, it's any particle can be an observer, is represented in this timeless space as a single segment, a world line, which connects the beginning of its existence to the end of its existence, and the entire lifespan of that observer is the world line. There's no single point to it because it's timeless. And this is the part that we haven't figured out yet in science, is how we get from that timeless world line to our real life human interaction and observance of it. But because we have intellectualized and abstracted into figuring out that those world lines, it's not confirmed. They may or may not exist to my understanding. I don't know if that's completely solid. But this is what I'm running with here for this world creation. Because we've intellectualized that, it implies that because we have world lines that already encompass our past, present, and future, that our future is already predetermined and we're just traveling along our established world line through this abstracted mathematical space. And as another tangent on this tangent of the previous tangent, this diagram here is I believe what they use to make Penrose diagrams to navigate dimensional space and black holes and stuff like that, which I'm not going to try and represent here. But because we have world lines, so here is a beginning and an end. Going through space, progressing constantly through time because you can't go back in time. Start. End. And as an arbitrary point here is now. And it's not a single now. It's now throughout your entire life, whenever your presence consciousness is. I went off the rails completely on that. But that is my argument for why free will is an illusion in this world. Now, for how humanity can interact with that subdimension that they exist in as a world line, that magic dimension, their souls can interact with magic energies in a unique way that can adjust their world line and the world lines around them, is what I'm thinking. So that is the foundation of magic and human free will and human agency in this setting. What do I get out of this? X? I just said X. Okay. So that was a whole lot of shit for this getting a fighter pilot in a night. But this is what you end up when you hyperfixate on something for a few weeks on the back burner. So how can I? Yes. Okay, we're just gonna move on from there because I don't want to get bogged down in that way any further. Humans can resist fate. There we go. That's the one sentence liner there. What else about the Immaterium? Magic energies are drawn from it. Human souls overlap with Immaterium. They don't exist solely in the Immaterium. Humans will primarily exist in our physical world, but their souls, our souls, exist on a subconscious level in the Immaterium that through magical practices we can draw on those energies. So here's another choice we have up here. Does everyone have magic? It wouldn't be no one has magic. I don't want to say special people have magic. So what will be the other option for everyone has magic? Because I don't really want everyone to have complete access to magic. Because that usually kind of blows up into the magic just going out of control way too fast. Off drop. While I think about this. Intense education required. Or just say education required. And I'll go and put in the immutable trait. Is that the right word? Something you're born with. So I'll say immutable. I think that's what that means. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. Now then. I am just tickled that I went on an entire physics tangent on this, but It's like Carl Sagan said, you just got to invent the universe to make an apple pie from scratch. And it's like that when you're GM and you hyperfixate on stuff in world building. Um, so what's another truth beyond the margarine immaterium, which is not the 40k immaterium? It's just a an approximate wording for it. What other truths do we have here? Honestly, the immaterium thing is the biggest one, because that's going to be the defining thing that informs everything else. So with that, maybe just with that one truth, we can start making some foundational choices here. So, I'm gonna go with permadeath. How do I want to delineate these? Strike you through. Magic can heal with consequences as well. Are you control 5 on this? No. I don't know what the shortcut is. I think control 5 is for strike through on Excel. Don't know about the time yet. Don't know about technology. I'm gonna go with education required. So maybe there are some people that are less capable or more capable, but in general, almost any human soul is capable of learning to conduct magic in some way. I think that's a good compromise there. But I don't want to go with a compromise everywhere. I don't want to go with full medieval. I just want some medieval aesthetics. So we're not in the medieval tech level, besides magic. Alternate or Earth or Stars War. That's the biggest one. Alternate Earth, my immediate thought is Atlantis resisted fate and did not sink below the waves. And Atlantis was the ancient magic hub of the Earth. And that resistance of fate is what separated this alternate Earth from what we know. The alternate Earth will be Atlantis as the delineation point. Or a long time ago in a galaxy far away. It's a lot more open-ended and a lot more free room to deal with, because I don't have to deal with specifically Earth with its continents and countries and regions and cultures that have evolved from that delineation point. Which means I have to include extra work, extra hooks to keep it relatable. More freedom, more work. Alternate Earth also always has the risk of angering grognards who know more than you do about random hyperfixations that aren't yours. I can go either way on that one. I might just have to sleep on that for another week. Let it go back on the back burner. For the time, that may or may not even be relevant. That would only be relevant for the alternate Earth. So if we go with Stars War, this would be all striked out. For the technology level, realistic, 21st, 20th century, or high technology, which would be full sci-fi. I'm not feeling full sci-fi. Because I'm going for science fantasy, but I don't want to be... If I remove high technology, that also removes space. Do I want to do that? There's ways to get space without high technology with magic. Okay. So we're on realistic here. And the realistic tech won't be fully realistic. It'll be re-envisioned in ways through the Magitech. So I think that's enough foundational choices to start moving. Any other truths that have come up? No. But going back up here to alternate Earth, I'm leaning towards that because I almost always just go for completely homebrew. Just make my own setting all the way. So maybe for a change of pace, I'll go with alternate Earth. But I'm going to make that yellow because I might change it. Why are you so brown? Oh, I just can't get a yellow. Doesn't matter. I'll just strike you out. And there. Yeah, mix it up. Because I always am inclined to just go all the way from scratch with my stuff instead of ever adapting what is existing. So, alternate Earth. And that can still have room to mess around with the geography. Because Atlantis existing implies that the continents are not static on a human timeline. If we assume Atlantis is out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and wasn't just like a floating city, it was actually an island or something out there. Okay. That gets a little screwy with plate tectonics, but magic. Or maybe it was a floating city, either way. Okay. Any other truths? I had one that I was thinking about earlier. I just completely lost it. I was just jamming out too hard to my new favorite music genre, which is Mongolian throat singing techno, where instead of bass drops, I have eagle screeches, and it's amazing. Uh, so Atlantis resisted fate, since we have enough foundations to start informing other truths. So because Atlantis resisted fate to perish, I don't want them to still be existing. I want them to still eventually fade away somehow. So we'll go with, just as a little bit of a timeline work, Atlantis to I don't know if ancient Europe was called Europa. I really only know that from the Sparta movie. Oh, Europa. That's a fun way to say it. As a European proxy. 8. So, Atlantis existed before the Greeks and during the Greeks. And during, was it the Greco-Trojan War? I forget the proper name for it. There is the theory that in real life that Troy people got away and then somehow crossed the Mediterranean to found Rome. So in this, we can go with Atlantis smuggled those Trojan royals who founded Rome. And Atlantis did this to create a proxy state to handle Europe for them. Hence the Roman Empire. So does that completely cut out the Roman Republic before it? No. The triggered Republic to Empire. So Atlantis disappeared around Atlantis' disappearance triggered Rome transitioning from a republic to the empire because the Atlantean patrons were no longer there to prop up the old regime. So was it Caesar who was the first one? Yeah, it must have been because their name for Emperor Caesar came from him. So Julius Caesar took that opportunity to transition the republic into an empire. Okay. What's another truth? Old world equal Greece, Egypt, Persians. So the old world will not mean Western and Middle Europe. It will mean, in this setting, Greece, Egypt, and the Persians, who will persist as major empires, major powers, not specifically empire. Major powers, not specifically empires. In the modern times of the setting. Yeah, I think I'm liking that. Anything else about Atlantis? That up. There we go. Atlantis was ancient global superpower. Linchpin of magical learning. Atlantis used Rome to suppress alternate magic traditions and religions. So that implies that Atlantis subscribed to the Greco-Roman pantheon of gods. Grec. Pantheon religion. Okay. I want to say, I mean, this is the Greek perception, but I want to say in the Trojan War that the Trojans also subscribed to that same pantheon, or at least part of it. That might just be me conflating the movie Troy from a few decades ago with the real. Was it Iliad or Odyssey? I think it was Iliad was the Trojan War with that story from a Homer Simpson. Okay. Okay. So the Roman Empire then would have interacted with these three and been subjugated to varying degrees. With the Greeks the most taken in by the Roman Empire, the Egyptians occupied, and the Persians minimally occupied and resisted a lot more. Okay. So that sets up for the Roman Empire to eventually split into Constantinople, the eastern half of the Roman Empire, becoming a good thing for them. Okay. This is getting too in the weeds of ancient history, so I want to move on from this now. But I do want to add a fourth. All of Roman Empire led to papacy and Christian dominance. I'm not 100% sure on this for this setting, but somewhere in there, the papacy will take over as the major authority on magical traditions in the Western world, or the European world, Euro-African world, European world, because I don't quite know how North and South America will interact with this having their own magic. That'll be something for later. Okay. Okay. And I may sleep on this and decide to go with a completely scratch-built world after all, but these are my thoughts so far on a alternate Earth for this. Okay. Thinking on this, I'm gonna go with near future for tech level. That'll give more leeway on what is capable with magic. Okay. Thinking on this, I was also considering, last year I started a Star Citizen story I was writing. I got chapters in, and then I just got crazy sick over Thanksgiving break and I broke the link of writing every day on and just haven't gotten back to it. But as happens with any Star Citizen fan, I'm go through phases where since then I've been real down on the setting. So I may end up adapting that to this setting, which would be harder to do if it's not in space. So I may change that as well. We'll see. I'm gonna undo that and make you orange. Okay. Any other truths? Will there be none humans in this setting? That would be a foundation choice. Only humans. Aliens. Species. I'm gonna straight out axe fantasy species. I want humans to be the primary sentience. But what about aliens? I want to leave the door open for aliens. I'm not gonna X out or green that. I'm just gonna leave aliens as a candidate that's still in consideration. Because I kind of like the idea. And this is coming from a lot of this being recycled from another setting that I've been writing for a few years now, which when you boil it down is ultimately a fan fiction, and I've been looking for excuses and opportunities to uplift it into its own thing. So, and that has aliens in it. Do I just want to go with aliens? Block that in? No, I need to sleep on that. I don't want to commit to that right now. Okay. You open for another one there. Same there. Let's start with a new page for what else we can do. So just to recap real quick, foundational choices, it's an alternate Earth. There is permadeath, so you can't revive people. Healing with consequences, what I'm thinking for that is you can heal, but you cannot revive people. So that implies that healing has limits tied to your soul's connection to your body. So maybe healing weakens your soul's link to your body. Either that means it's easier for you to die and let go of your mortal coil. Maybe being healed can reduce how much magic you can use. Something like that. Some kind of consequence beyond just a get out of injuries and scars and pain-free button. Because I want there to be risks. Gotta have risks. And then we are near future, possibly spacefaring. But focused on Earth. Or the solar system, at least. Relatively realistic tech level. With Magitech exceptions. You gotta be educated to use magic. But most people can. Possibly to varying degrees. Humans will be primary, with very possibly aliens. I haven't decided on that just yet. And then our truths, magic and souls are tied into an immaterium, which is not the 40k immaterium, it's its own thing here. Atlantis resists fate and is the delineating point from our world. The old world is a reference to Greek, Egypt, and the Persian empires. The fall of the Roman Empire led to the papacy and Christian dominance of European magical traditions. So those are our key points of reference touchstoning this. Now, what does a Magitech setting imply for the politics of the world? We are just going from weed to weeds here. So just word association. Technocracy, but for wizards. Arcanocracy? Arcanocracy. Magic. Democracy for big hat nerds. Okay. Eventually some dipshit would try eugenics. But, like, try and breed the superior race of magic users or something like that. Humans are stupid, they do it eventually. Eugenics attempted. Political history. A what other governments would form? There would be magical Luddites. I can't think of a better word. Luddites for magic. And I want to define something up here. Arcana equals... Arcana is to science what magic is to technology. Just to have a functional term there. Okay. Scientific fringe. What else? I think those are some good extremes to flesh out the canvas of the history of the world. Now, what about modern major powers? We have the Old World. Old World alliance of Greece, Egypt, Persia. We have Western Europe and Central Europe. What about... No, because Rome would have fallen and then given way. Because I don't want to delineate too far from real history. Because when you get way too out there, then just makes it impossible for people to relate to it and disengage. So... Western Europe, Western Northern Europe, Northern Europe Union, Roman Catholic state. Not sure if Spain would be involved in this. Just add a plus Spain there. Just to simplify it. Let's see. Russia. I am incredibly Mongolia pilled right now from their music after... because recently I've been helping a friend write his thesis paper about Mongolia. So I've been learning way more than I ever thought I would about Mongolia. So Mongolia would still bulldoze Europe and especially Russia and China. So that would still be a major influence. I'm not sure about that part of Asia. I just put Asia for future. The Americas. The pickle. As how would the indigenous peoples with their magic interact with the Europeans? This could be another major delineation point to go back with the truths. My first thought is that South America, I can't remember the real timeline of the empires down there. If like Aztecs like came before Mayans or what. I want to say the empires down there persisted for a while, but eventually broke down to civil wars. Don't know if they would have been colonized. I'll just put South America for now. South America post-Aztec. And I think Mayans were Central America with Mexico. I think that's right. I'll have to double check that. It's been a long time since I thought about those ancient cultures. America post-Mayan. I really need to double check that one. North America was... We don't even really know what indigenous North America was pre-Europe because so many of them died. We just have no context for that left. If I want to say our best guess is that there were loose nations of affiliated tribes, something like that. How would they interact with people leaving Europe? The stereotypical context for that interaction are pilgrims from Britain coming to the New World. This is not just a pickle, it's a thorny pickle. Oh. Yeah. That's a big one. What about Africa? Africa had a lot of empires in the ancient world. And that surprises a lot of people for some reason. But they were very, very powerful and influential. Like, there was one empire. I don't know if it was, like, by name a kingdom or an empire, but it was so rich and had so much gold that the dude just straight up went on, like, parades around the continent just showing off his gold because he had so much. He was a literal king. So race for Africa, I want to say didn't happen. Both because Egypt never got broken down, and because of their own kingdoms and such down there. Africa, not colonized. Is indigenous the right word for those kingdoms there? Because it's not like the Americas where they were completely isolated from the rest of the world after the land bridge melted after the Ice Age. Because even then there would have been people going back and forth between cultures and land masses. In Africa, that is. Africa and Europe and Asia. Because it's all connected by land. Okay. So there, and I don't know how, but in some fashion there's going to be successor states to the ancient kingdoms and empires that would not overly influenced by Europe. They were their own thing. Possibly influenced by Atlantis and the Roman Empire, but not in the way that real-life Africa was influenced by colonization and the race for Africa. And above this, I should make a note of the original inspiration. Is fighter pilot plus medieval Renaissance knight. I don't think I spelled Renaissance right, but whatever. Yep. There we go. So, I think I'm going to leave that there. Because this was just an extended workshop session for me to work through the tangents I've been brewing for the past few weeks. I'm going to sleep on this for a week and hopefully have something more concrete next Monday to start really cooking. Because this is still the prep work in the kitchen. But we got the pot off the back burner now. I think we cooked something pretty good setting up. You know what? We're going to have the A's. I just can't resist. But they're not going to be on Earth. It's just out there in space. There's A's. There has to be. It's too big. Alright. We're going to end this there. I need to save. Tomorrow, we will be reading Conan. I haven't decided which story yet. I'm tempted to read one where he's on a pirate adventure. Because that was one of the latest ones I've read. Where he encounters a pirate king and they go to some Stygian jungle adventure. And it's pretty neat. That also goes into cosmic horror and ancient civilizations there. In that world. But there's a bunch of other Conan stories and I haven't decided yet. We'll figure it out tomorrow. But I will see you 1:30 tomorrow night. Hope everyone has a fantastic Tuesday. See you later.